And now's the time when things are shifting. There's gonna be a new world order out there. And we gotta lead it.
True international depression.
You are fake news.
I am not suicidal.
We'll circle back with you directly. I can circle back. I'll circle back with you.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everyone who's out there? Don't worry, that's just us. But let's figure out what's going on here. What about this one here? David Hogg and
Oh, you're
Malcolm
messing up the intro big time. We're way out of practice. You're
What do you
supposed to say,
mean?
I'm Jeffrey and I'm Brian.
Oh, I'm Jeffrey.
I'm Brian.
And we're just here, to do what we do,
That's right.
Anyway, what would happen with the whole DNC, David Hogg, and
We
Malcolm
predicted this was
Kenyatta?
going to happen.
Yeah.
He chucked the apple cart one too many times, and they told him he couldn't use his PAC to primary out existing DNC members, and he said, I'm going to do that. And so they demanded a re-election.
Yeah, well, it was craziness with oh yeah, it has to be a woman. It's like what?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
the second vice president or some shit like that. Yeah.
yeah. And it's funny because it's like, oh no, I just decided not to, run again or whatever. And it's like, no, dude, no, you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, now remember the Sacklers?
Yes, we watched. I think there was an Hulu had it or Netflix had
Yeah,
a big documentary about this.
yeah. Well, apparently a new settlement has come out. $7.4 billion.
And where's that money going?
Purdue Pharma, Sacklers. So I'm not sure exactly who, but all 50 states, as well as the District of Columbia and the U.S. territories, have approved the $7.4 billion settlement. Purdue Pharma,
Well,
maker
this
of
went through the
OxyContin.
bankruptcy court. So, I mean, the Purdue Pharma is apparently bankrupt.
Yeah, maybe. Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
let
Letitia
New
James.
York's Attorney General Letitia James said the plan will hold the Sackler family accountable.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, and now the super mayor,
Yep.
Tiffany Henyard.
And
She
typically
is
when you plead the fifth, that means you
eh,
got something to hide. You're not innocent.
correct, but in a courtroom that doesn't. You can't just assume in a courtroom. But she kind of gave herself away with that one right there. So all this garbage she's been talking, all this shit she's been talking about everybody, and she goes like, "No, I'm just gonna sit here and keep my mouth shut now." Uh, I don't know, man. You think she's gonna see jail time or not?
She's a Democrat in Illinois. I mean, the governor did, but it took a lot for that to happen. So yeah, I'm not holding out hope on that.
Mm. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens because this just keeps popping up in the news everywhere. Brian Wilson died, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Yep.
82 years old.
Yep.
Anyone doesn't know who he is, he was the talent in the Beach Boys.
He was not a talented singer. He was a talented music songwriter.
Yes. Yes. I mean, guy was 82. All right, that's unfortunate he's dead. But
He
shoot,
lived
man,
a
like,
good life.
oh yeah, they did so much good music too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything from Sloop John B to 409, Surfing Safari.
Surfing Safari is my favorite.
Really?
Or Surfing USA.
Yeah,
Surfing
well,
USA.
California Girls.
That was a good one too. Yeah.
Sloop John B. uh okay, so did you hear? I'm sure you heard about it. This dude in
Of course.
Minnesota. Yeah, dude in Minnesota went in and killed what the former chairman and her husband,
He
and
posed as a
then
cop.
yeah, went in with a fake police car in uniform, killed two people, a woman and her husband, and then went into a Minnesota congressman's house and maimed him and his wife.
And it was a cop that put two and two together and decided to go check out the other couple and found them dead.
Yes. He was missing for days. He took off on foot. I don't know how the cops got there so quick when he was still in the house, but uh, he's been taken into custody.
Yeah.
Um,
We're waiting for
eh,
the see that he has the manifesto.
yeah, they're not going to release that. You know that. The fact that they're not releasing it tells you
That he
because you know
doesn't
if this
fit the
guy
narrative.
exactly if this guy was some right winger, like we kept hearing, which
He
I
was
think is
not.
hilarious. I think it's. I keep hearing he's some far right winger. I'm like, the dude was nominated, not nominated, appointed by Walls and served under him for 4 years in the
And then
Minnesota
he
government.
was doing something with the
No
Republic of
kings.
Congo and stuff. You know, he had some kind of private security firm that he was doing down there. It was very convoluted. Didn't make any sense. They were talking about on No Agenda show quite a bit on those previous episode, and they were saying that they listened to a whole interview about him talking about how he told his three male roommates that he might be gone for a while and may die, but then he's married and got five kids.
Yeah, that's the
So if
thing
you're
is,
married and got five kids, why are you living with three other guys?
that's the thing is, one of these quote roommates said, "Oh yeah, he lives. You know, he's my roommate. You know, he votes Trump. He loves Trump." And I was like, the dude has a whole family. He's not divorced or anything like that. He doesn't have a problem with his family.
It doesn't
They're
pass the smell test.
no, they're full of shit. And by the time this actually gets released, just like the trans shooter at the Christian school, it'll have dumped out of all these people's minds, and it won't mean shit to them anymore. Which I think is hilarious. Whoopi Goldberg started running her mouth about the Republicans about this. It's like this dude worked for Tim Walz, and she's saying that Trump not calling Tim Walz is him, not being peaceful and like showing his ass. Like I don't know, man. Like you guys called him a Nazi. Why the fuck is he gonna call you?
Right.
And meanwhile, Whoopi fucking cheered when someone tried to kill Trump.
Yeah, of course. But now she's coming out saying if you want people to act differently, you got to show your and now you're here showing your ass. I don't even understand what she's trying to say. It's just Whoopi being
Yeah,
Whoopi.
yes, Whoopi has no idea what she's talking about most of the time. Uh, they're I don't know how the View is so popular, how it's on TV because you pay attention to them at all, they'll say one thing, then 20 minutes later say the exact opposite, but try to make it sound like they're saying different things, you know?
Yeah. I don't know how it's still on TV and how it has the ratings it has. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, well, awful. It's affluent white female urban liberals. Uh, but yeah, now remember when Tim Walz said that the Democrats need to be meaner?
Yeah.
And now he's calling that back. He's walking it back after the guy he hired assassinated elected officials or an elected official. By the way, this dude, I can't remember his name. Doesn't really matter. I don't
No,
care.
we don't talk about his name. We don't care that much.
He's looking at execution under federal law.
But not under state law.
Yeah, I don't know if Minnesota has death penalty or not, honestly.
I'll put my money on no. It's a
Probably
blue
not.
state. Even Virginia, who's red right now, does not have capital punishment anymore.
California does. They just don't actually carry it out.
Well, that's how the Dems justify getting rid of it here in Virginia is like we hadn't done anything with it in like 20 years. So when they had all three positions of power, they outlawed it. So
I mean, you could have kept it on the books and just not handed it down as it,
oh, they didn't want to have it as even an option, in case the Republicans got in charge again.
Yeah, well, Massachusetts did the same thing, almost 100 years ago. And then after the Boston bomber came around, they went and called the federal government to try this guy so they could execute him. It's like, do your own fucking wet work, you know?
Yeah.
What's going on in Virginia? Uh, this poor girl,
Yep.
21 years old.
Uh-huh. She went missing in late May, and the family reported to the Navy that they lost contact. The Navy didn't seem to care. until they got, it started showing up all over the place on Facebook and stuff like that. Ray and I both shared it around, and they're now saying that the body was recovered. It was her, and there's another sailor that is in custody with NCIS and it is not getting bonded out.
Mm. Yeah,
So
the
we don't know the whole story. This probably is lovers' quarrel type deal or some bullshit like that, But I don't. No matter how much how many issues you have with somebody that killing them ain't the solution.
correct. Yeah, the family put out a statement. The family of Seaman Angelina
She was a
Resendez is,
culinary specialist.
oh boy. Yeah, oh, that's a big long thing. I don't want to go through the whole thing. But yeah, the family had something to say about it. And Resendez, I
Yeah,
don't recognize that name at all, but she looks Indian.
probably is.
Yeah, that name almost sounds Italian or Hispanic, but yeah, whatever. Just like Zimmerman is like Guatemalan and he's got a German name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, check this out, dude. We had flash flood warning over here
Yes.
this weekend. Uh, it's crazy, dude.
Good
Like
that you live
six,
on the top of the mountain.
yeah, but we went down down into a valley, which is known for flooding for a birthday party that my little girl had to attend. And geez Louise, man, like 6 inches of rain fell in a couple days. Uh,
Do you have any trouble
seven.
getting back up?
No, we drove through the rain just fine, but dude, man, some of the videos, there was this building that the water came smashing into it and then poured out of like the fourth floor on the other side of the building down into the parking lot. I was like, holy shit.
That's insane.
7 have been found dead so far. This article I have here is a little old because the last one, the seventh, was found like an hour ago. A 3-year-old and her mother died, dude. That's just tragic. FEMA has not got involved. I don't know if Morrissey, the governor, is even going to contact the federal government about this or not,
Well, Trump, I saw an unrelated article I saw where Trump is trying to get rid of FEMA and turn everything over to the states and let the states handle their own, you know, provide them with
Mm,
extra funding, but leave it up to the states, making a states' rights issue type deal. Who knows
yeah,
better how to deal with an issue in your state than the actual governor of the state?
I don't know, man. Look at California with all the fires and everything that happened. Well,
There's a
the
new
hur
fire.
yes, I know, and the hurricane in North Carolina. You know, all right. So Sunny Hostin, also from The View, up there with Whoopi, she's claimed it's not illegal to be undocumented.
What?
I don't know what these folks think when they say this stuff.
I think they need to start sharing the drugs that they're using with us because they're
Yeah.
actually on better drugs than we are.
Yeah, AOC came out recently and said the same thing. And it's like, no, no, crossing the border illegally is illegal. Kind of fascinating to see so many people don't understand this. Uh, and what's getting me is that these arguments these folks are making sound just like the slave owners of old. Like, shoot, what was it in Crockett Day? I was like, we ain't picking the cotton. We need someone to do it. I'm like, what? What? Who's going to clean our toilets? We can't wipe
Right.
our asses without these people. Who's going to pick the fruit? I'm like, oh my God. And then they're saying stuff like, well, you don't have to pay them a regular wage. You don't have to give them insurance or any of this stuff. It's like, so you want slavery so that your fruit price stays low. I don't know. Do you remember, was it when Trump was first in office, like 6 years ago or something, 7 years ago maybe? They went in and raided a Tyson chicken plant and got like
Yep.
300 illegal migrants out.
Yep.
And everyone's screaming like, "Oh, now who's going to process the chicken?" The next day, there were hundreds of Americans applying for those jobs.
Right.
It's like, no, just because you rich folk don't want to pay as much money for shit doesn't mean that no or refuse to do real work doesn't mean no one will.
Right.
It's just frustrating as hell, dude. And you point this out to them like it's not the same. Like, yeah, it is. Like, I wonder what does it cost to buy an illegal migrant these days? Because I got plenty of stuff in my yard to handle that I
You just got to go to Home Depot and pick some up
not
and bring them up
anymore.
for the day.
Not anymore. Apparently, ICE has been going to Home Depots and picking these people up. Excuse me. But yeah, the House actually just had to pass a bill to overturn the DC law that allowed non-citizens to vote.
Hmm.
Uh, and guess who voted to let these illegal migrants vote?
Democrats.
Yeah, and man, that's the thing is they send this money back home to their families. And now you're gonna vote so that we can let more people in and more people in, you know? We can't just have anyone voting.
Right.
Which is this same idea where they want like 16-year-olds to vote. And they're saying it's okay for like 15-year-olds to trans themselves with surgery, but they can't buy a pack of cigarettes or a case of beer because
No.
their brains aren't developed yet. I'm like, but you want them to vote? You know?
Yeah.
You want to give them irreversible surgery so they'll never be able to have children?
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right. Well, the judge in Milwaukee that let the migrant go tried to get the case dismissed. That was tossed out. I believe the judge has been indicted, right? Like
Yeah.
will be facing trial.
Right.
And
They claimed immunity, and the immunity charges got shot down. It's like immunity claim.
why would you be immune? Like it literally sounds like she was saying that she's above the law.
That's exactly what she was saying.
I thought no one was above the law. I thought this was like the big talking point from the left. The whole time they were trying to put Trump in prison and his lawyers in prison and his advisors in prison. Like, didn't Steve Bannon get out just before Trump took office?
Yeah.
Goodness. And she's like, none of that happened. You guys are making this up. And it's like this video of this lady, like you know that, right? It's public record. Everyone can see this video of you doing this and setting it all up and distracting ICE.
Yeah.
And then that Massachusetts judge that happened under Trump's first term, who was facing charges for similar crime, charges were dropped under Biden, and Trump had him brought back up. Same thing, distracting ICE while scurrying someone out the back door so they wouldn't be arrested. She's claiming all sorts of stuff. And it's interesting, again, it's both times it's women, and both times it's white women.
Right.
Interesting, huh?
Sure is.
Hmm. All right. I know shit. So some Chinese illegal immigrant bought a gun store, right? So he could send weapons to North Korea. And he pled guilty. How I thought you couldn't buy a gun if you weren't a citizen in this country.
Yeah, you can't.
So how do you buy a whole store of guns? Like that kind of seems like it
seems
shouldn't
like
be happening.
no, it definitely shouldn't be happening.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And to North Korea, are you kidding me?
North Korea
This
does need new guns.
well, yeah, I mean, they're eating their own bullets when they're trying to go fight Ukraine, which is crazy. All right, shoot. Where was this lawmaker, this Democrat? I believe she was local or is she federal?
I think it's
Minnesota State Rep.
logo.
Yeah, Cowley Van Her or something like that. She's a Democrat farmer Labor Party member. And she said herself that she is here illegally and that her
How is she?
father
How is she even in the well? I guess Minnesota's got different rules for that kind of shit. That doesn't work in the federal level.
well, the best part is she's saying like her father lied on the paperwork to get out of was it Vietnam, I believe. Uh and I think she's thinking that there's nothing that anyone can do about it. But that can actually be revoked because they fraudulently filled out the paperwork
Yeah.
however many years ago.
Right.
Like she could be deported for this. And I hope that the federal government looks into this. This is ridiculous. Jesus Christ, man. And now shit. What, El Salvador is not good enough, so now we're gonna start sending some of these migrants to Kosovo.
Kosovo. I mean,
That's what I was like, holy,
we must have got
like,
a better deal. I've been to Albania outside of Kosovo, so
never been, but the last time I heard the name Kosovo mentioned was like that shit. Was it 90s when there was a war over there and like the
I
Soviet
was
Union is
there.
falling apart?
I was there.
Damn. All right. Oh, and separate country, but about illegal migrants. There's a violent eruption, I suppose, happening in Northern Ireland right now as thousands are taking to the streets in an anti-immigration protest. Um, which is hilarious because that's like the opposite of what's happening here. You people that want the deportations to go through are just keeping their mouth shut and minding their own business for the most part. I am watching some videos of folks going to these anti-ICE protests and trying to, interview the people protesting, which is hilarious. Hilarious. They're like all boomers at these protests. Which I mean, I guess it makes sense because boomers were the only what do we call that generation that voted more against Trump than for Trump in this last election. And to any of my friends, especially if Sean is listening to this one, just a heads up, Gen X voted more Trump than any other generation in the country too. So it is funny to watch the Gen X dude throw a temper tantrum like he's an 80-year-old woman. All right. Well, and Brian is coming back. Oh, he had to refill his drink or something, I guess. So Maxine Waters tried to get into the detention center in Los Angeles for the ICE detention center,
Right.
and she's criticizing DHS for this. But it's like you can't just walk into these places. Like you need to like set up all sorts of stuff. Even if
Yeah.
you are a congresswoman or even a senator, you have to set these things up in advance so that make sure everything's
There's
safe and ready to
security
go.
issues that need to be taken care of, It's like,
Yeah, well, just like what happened when Senator Padilla, the dumbass, charged in to a Homeland Security press briefing
yeah,
and threw a fit when he got cuffed, and taken away.
right,
Because I dare you to charge into a Homeland Security thing and start screaming and see what happens to you. And it's funny because he's like, oh, everyone's saying stuff like, oh, they put him on the ground. They're just nonsense. The dude got down on his knees on his own. You can see it in the video when he laid down on his stomach by himself.
right.
And it's frustrating as fuck listening to these dumbasses say this stuff. It's like you can see the video, watch it yourself.
Yep.
But speaking of Christy Nome, a couple hours ago she was hospitalized for an allergic reaction.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're saying she ought to be all right. There's just an abundance of caution. But all right, well, whatever. And then what? The New York mayoral candidate Brad Lander was also arrested by ICE for a similar thing. He didn't storm into anything, but they're saying he escorted an illegal migrant out of court, which means ICE was probably standing there waiting for him,
Yeah.
and this guy got in the way. Is probably what happened.
Right. Uh-huh.
And it's hilarious. Again, like the View and these other groups are like, oh, look at him targeting all these people and arresting them all. It's like you guys did the same exact shit
Yeah.
for years.
Right.
And you point to, well, that's because they committed crimes. Like, oh, and then you ask them, like, what crimes did Trump commit? And they can't tell you. Like, what this guy do? I'm like, he obstructed federal law enforcement from doing their job. Like, this is actually a crime, just like these judges. It's actually a crime.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just
And
not used to these things being enforced.
yeah, well, just like when Trump with his quote felony convictions, they had to go and make up a crime that he was never convicted of or even charged of to even be able to try him for these crimes. And that let them make them not federal, felonies and extend the statute of limitations. The judge himself even said, oh, you don't even have to agree on what the initial crime was. Doesn't really matter. It's like, what the fuck? All right. So what do you think of the National Guard being nationalized by Trump?
I'm not surprised. I think it you know, I mean, in limited portions. I didn't honestly, when it first happened, I didn't realize he had the authority to do that. I thought it was always the governor that had to do it.
Oh no, that same way you can we can send them overseas to fight with the army.
Well,
You know,
that's different. I didn't think he could deploy it stateside.
Bush Senior did in 1992 with the Rodney King thing. And
Okay.
what's interesting about that, that was also the last time we deployed United States military, the
Uh-huh.
Marine Corps in particular, with inside the borders of the United States. Uh, and kind of crazy, man. Can't remember what the term is. That well, posse comitatus. A lot of people are trying to bring that up, saying you can't do that, but like that says the military can't be used to enforce local laws. The Marines aren't
Right.
there to enforce local law. They're there to protect federal buildings and federal agents from rioters and violent people.
Okay.
Yeah. So initially Trump said he was sending 500 Marines out there, but it ended up being 700.
Well,
They
they
sat
came from the state, so I mean,
yeah. And they haven't done much more than anything. Have been getting training. They did detain one guy and then turn him over to the local authorities immediately once they could find local authorities.
well, that's pretty much what they should be doing, is that exactly that.
Yeah,
Because they don't, I mean, technically they don't have the authority to arrest people, but they can like stop things from happening and detain them until the local police can be found or the
yeah,
federal government, the FBI type deal can be found.
exactly. Yeah. Excuse me. And Kamala Harris came out and called the anti-ICE riots overwhelmingly peaceful. Did you
They're,
see any of the footage of this thing?
yeah, they're not very peaceful.
No, and it's hilarious because a press group is now suing the LAPD because of the actions during the anti-ICE protests, because the police are using pepper balls and tasers and all this stuff trying to stop the overwhelming violence.
Right.
And it's hilarious because the press is like, oh, we got caught up in it. It's like, well, motherfucker, you stand in the middle of a rioting group, you're gonna get pepper sprayed too, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
And if these are overwhelmingly peaceful, then how come the LAPD themselves, as of 5 hours ago, which by the way, Tuesday at about 3 p.m.,
Okay.
uh, Los Angeles police themselves arrested 575 people in these riots already.
Wow. LAPD, they're not known for doing this kind of thing.
No, but shit, dude. They're summoning Waymo. You familiar with Waymo? The
Yeah, they're
self-driving
the
cars?
self-driving taxis.
Yeah. They're calling these things up and then the cars are driving in there. They stand in front of it and it stops and they light it on fire. Kind of crazy, you
Waymo's
know?
pulled out of several cities because of this.
Yeah. Yeah. And plus a body was found where where the looting and the protests were occurring in Los Angeles. Now, I don't know what killed this person, but if we're going to say that these cops on January 6th died because of what happened on January 6th a couple days earlier, then I'm going to say this guy had a heart attack because he was terrified of the rioting going on around him, and therefore it's the rioters' fault, right? Yeah,
Duh. Dumb.
yeah. Shit, Fox News done fucked up, man. They showed up in a Ford Explorer and it looked too much like a police vehicle, and that got lit on fire. Jeez Louise. But yeah, fiery but mostly peaceful, right? Meanwhile, uh, how many people, like, how much violence actually happened on January 6th?
Not, I mean, one person died, was killed on January 6th. It was the civilian Air Force Reserves. Um, I mean, there was some destruction done in the Capitol buildings. Some people got, pepper sprayed and taser and shit like that. But I mean,
But they didn't light the building on fire.
everybody's bringing this shit up again. Like, the No King's Day was so much different than, January 6th. January 6th happened 5 years ago. I don't care. The people were overcharged and most of them ended up being in solitary confinement forever until Trump started pardoning people when he
Oh,
became
and
president.
a couple of them were held without trial for 4 years.
Exactly. There's so
What
much
the?
for a speedy trial.
Yeah, it's like what the hell? Uh, but yeah, now Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, is warning these rioters what's going to happen if they injure these federal agents.
Well, I'd
Which,
be a little more concerned about that because Trump's already proven that he ain't afraid to shake some cages up, you know. It's a new regime. It ain't the Biden regime anymore.
yeah, and it's
He's trying to bring the country back to law and order, not to lawlessness.
well, and as I mentioned when you were refilling your drink or whatever you're doing, most of these protests is like 70, 65-year-old women.
Oh, and I heard some of the freaking sound bites of them like, "Oh no, I can't believe Trump's president again. Woe it's me," type shit.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful, right? So the boomers are complaining, and oh my, the boomers, man, all they've ever done is worry about themselves, and don't get me
I
wrong.
think I learned on the last show I'm not a boomer.
Now you're old Gen X.
Yeah,
All right.
you're young Gen X.
Now I'm actually old millennial,
Oh, okay.
geriatric millennial is what they call me. Raised Gen X though, because I got a brother 4 years older than me. Just had to be home by the time the street lights turned on, kind of thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, 700 Marines are out there in California. John Stewart had some stupid shit to say about this,
he
but
always
that
has
had,
stupid shit to say.
yeah, he was talking about what's going on in Iran and how like so many people are saying they don't think that we should be getting involved in deploying our military. Like, yeah, but you're not worried about deploying them in our own country for a civil war. It's like, dude, we're not pulling out rifles and shooting civilians. They're stopping these guys from burning down a detention center or a federal building.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And what happened? Okay, I heard that a judge went ahead and told the National Guard to disregard Trump's orders. But I'm sure that
Presidents don't have that authority.
no, they definitely don't. And that's what made me nervous. I was like, shit. I was like, this is how you get real issues. Like this is how like Lee and Jackson, or do I fight with my country or for my home state? You know? And no, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't if you're in the guard now, because you can't just
I
quit and
mean,
say,
I
fuck
know
it.
that Governor Youngkin activated the National Guard here in Virginia. I know we got in here that your governor activated the guard
Yeah.
in West Virginia. So, I mean,
Missouri did too.
it was all on standby, you know. Probably not needed, but it better be safe than sorry. So,
Well, Charleston, West Virginia had one of these no kings protests.
oh, they were all over Virginia.
Yeah, I got a good laugh though, because there were a couple in Toronto. I'm like, you guys have a fucking king.
Exactly.
A lot of people seem to forget that they're United Kingdom or whatever the hell, the Commonwealth, whatever the fuck, whatever. Part of that whole thing with Australia and London and Wales and all them and Scotland. Oh my God. But yeah, the shit. Did you hear the sheriff in one of the sheriffs in Florida said if you attack his deputies or these federal agents, said we'll kill you graveyard dead. I was like, damn. All right. Anyway, back on these no kings protests. Did you heard about this guy Arturo Gamboa? Yeah, he was shot at. They said he manipulated his rifle in Salt Lake
No.
City, Utah. Now I went online
There
to
was
dust.
no King's protest in Salt Lake City.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they said he manipulated his rifle, and two people that were uh, organizers of this protest in Salt Lake City drew their handguns and fired on this dude. They grazed him with one bullet and killed an innocent stander by.
That's a problem.
The dude who was shot that didn't fire a single round has been arrested for murder.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and they're like, well, he incited this. It's like, dude, I went and looked this up just to be sure. It is 100% legal to open carry a rifle in Utah and Salt Lake City too. So it's not even like Salt Lake City has their own laws.
Right.
And then these No Kings people came out and made a public statement like, when danger happened, they ran towards it instead of away from it. Like they were the danger. They were the ones shooting into a fucking crowd. What the
Right.
hell? So does this mean I can shoot at someone, miss, kill someone else, and then have the person I was shooting at initially arrested for it? That's crazy to me.
It sure is.
And this person's already been indicted. We'll see where it goes. This might get dropped quickly. And if it's not, I'm sure the appeals courts are going to love to hear this. By the way, the dudes who actually shot and killed this guy have not been arrested. So, yeah, there you go. And you're worried about right-wing violence. These guys were all far left-wing dudes there to protest ICE, and not ICE in particular, but the
Yeah.
No Kings thing. Jesus, man. Yeah. Well, just like that dude Sean I was mentioning every episode to you.
Mhm.
He was complaining about like the Republican Party and the Democrat Party keep switching, and it's ridiculous watching it happen again. And I was like, yeah, I mean, look at the Confederacy, look at the Ku Klux Klan, look at the Jim Crow laws, look at these schools now, like Harvard doing segregated graduations. And I was like, you guys had slaves then, you're trying to get these illegal migrants as slaves. It's like, yeah, geez, it's crazy how it's the same guys every time. Tell me about our favorite autistic girl.
Greta?
Yeah.
Oh, she got on a boat, a
Yeah, well,
sailing boat, going to Palestine, and she didn't make it there though.
yeah, Israel diverted her to an Israeli port and detained her. And here's the best part is she released a video about how she's been kidnapped.
She was not
It's
getting
like,
out.
yeah, it's like, first of all, you were arrested because you tried to break a blockade.
Yep,
Second of all, she had to record this video before this happened. So she knew this was going to happen.
of course. That's
Yeah.
why she was doing all about she was doing it for the publicity.
Yeah, and she was saying how in this video, she was saying she needs people to contact the Swedish government and pressure them into doing something for her. The Swedes said, no fucking way, we're not doing garbage to help you. That was a stupid thing to do.
You
And they
know
actually,
it's bad when the Swedes won't touch your shit.
yeah,
They're pretty
yeah.
much neutral on most things.
Well, and they actually asked people to stop calling them about this stuff because there's like real stuff happening worldwide that they need their embassy or whatever, whoever it is you're calling.
Uh,
And the phone lines are bogged down by people saying, do something for Greta instead of, hey, Los Angeles is on fire. Can someone get me out of here? Sheesh. And they tried to get her to watch video and look at photos of what happened on October 7th.
right.
Like, just a heads up, this is what we're fighting against. She refused. Her whole team refused to like even look at it. I'm not surprised because they know what happened. They don't care. They just hate
No,
Israel.
they were looking for a yeah, everybody hates Israel, and it was all about keeping Greta's name in the highlights.
And I think Israel is taking this a little excessive. But I'm not Israel. I don't get to tell Israel how to handle their
Well,
business.
Israel has been fighting this war on like 7 different fronts for ever since they existed. So
Yes.
none of their
Yes.
neighbors want them to exist. Their neighbors all have the mission in life to destroy Israel. So
Yeah. Well, did you see a bunch of reporters went to and protesters went to Egypt and they were gonna march over across the river or whatever, or across the water there to get to Gaza and like rescue everyone. And Egypt was like, no, you're all being detained, and they all got deported. And all these reporters are like, I don't understand. It's like Egypt's not allowing these people to come in seeking asylum either, because
right.
you let all these terrorists in your country completely turn your country around. I mean, how many revolutions did Egypt have in like 5 years with was it Hezbollah?
A lot.
Yeah. And which I thought was hilarious because you got a lot of these Dems saying it's only a couple square miles in Los Angeles where there's violence and stuff happening. You know, it's not the whole 200 square mile city. It's like, yeah, in Egypt, man, you could be sitting there eating a burger, watching the soccer game in a bar, and a mile and a half away, there are people with automatic gunfire in the middle of a
Oh yeah,
revolution.
people that never left the U.S. Don't understand this. You know, we were in the military, we were both in the Navy, and we've been around the world. We've traveled, we've been there, we've done that. We're back in the U.S. now for obvious reasons, but you know,
I've been to Israel a whole bunch of times too.
I've never been to Israel. I always wanted to go, but I never made it there.
Yeah, my last ship, the Vela Gulf, we were there with missiles to shoot down incoming missiles at Israel,
Oh,
and
and
we must have hit port like 12 times.
now we got the Nimitz and the is it the Carl Vincent
Yeah.
both?
I was wondering that because didn't the Carl Vinson and the Eisenhower already head over there a little bit ago? Now the Nimitz is on its way. Did these
Nimitz is
other
coming in. There's a carrier already there, and Nimitz is on his way to make it two carriers again.
Jeez Louise.
I'm not sure who the other carrier is.
Yeah, and we sent a whole bunch of these mid-flight refueling tankers too. Because check it out. Israel's aircraft have
It is
enough fuel
Carl
to
Vinson.
yeah, yeah.
As of Friday, that was the only aircraft carrying the region, and the Nimitz is steaming full speed ahead to get there.
Jeez Louise, dude. Like, what is two battle groups? That's insane.
Well, they've been doing it for a while. I mean, this has only been a couple of months since the I think it was the Truman just left that area and came back home. So
Truman, yeah, okay. So more or less the Nimitz is relieving the Truman.
pretty much, yeah,
Okay.
they're getting
Yeah,
there early.
a buddy of mine, he was a Marine, was saying how this is setting up a false flag that we're sending a aircraft carrier that's going to be decommissioned next year. You know, we're hoping that it gets sunk. I'm like, so we're going to just sacrifice 5,000 sailors.
The
And how
Nimitz
many?
is not getting decommissioned next
No, next
year.
year. Yeah, it is. I mean, shit, it's the oldest of its class. It's, you know, the Nimitz class carrier, right?
I
Uh,
hadn't heard that that was being the decommissionings were starting on them. So
I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be their last deployment. They were going to go to the war games in Finland. Uh, but no, we're not sending an aircraft carrier over there to get sunk to kill
no,
all of
no,
these
fuck
people. And
no, no.
no, and what? How many aircraft would we lose? How many sailors would we lose? You know,
Mm.
officers. Now, don't get me wrong. This is dangling bait out there because I think the powers that be want to go to war with Iran. I think that's a huge mistake.
Well,
Chip,
I mean, I don't think the Trump turned down a order from Israel saying let's go assassinate Khamenei.
well, yeah, I'll tell you why. They took out a whole bunch of these military officers and some of these nuclear sites in Iran. Israel did. If you
Yeah,
take out their leader at the same time, the terrorist organizations will take over the nation. You cannot have that.
right.
But do you have any idea how big Iran is? Like everyone seems to think it's this little country.
No, it's not.
It's the size of Eastern Europe.
Yeah,
And it's all mountainous. It's not like flat desert like most of Afghanistan. Look how good we did in Afghanistan, you know?
we did it almost as good as Russia did.
And you know what? It was our fault Russia got jacked up so bad over there, too. We were the ones that were helping Bin Laden fight the Russians off.
Yeah,
Look how that
well,
turned out for
that turned
everybody
out
on the
well
board.
for us.
Yeah, cripes. But yeah, Iran launched hundreds of missiles back at Israel when Israel attacked Iran. Uh, Trump denied it, and so did the UK. But there's allegations that U.S. and UK technology has been used to shoot down missiles and drones attacking Israel.
Oh, that's I don't think that's anything to argue about. I definitely think we're doing that. Israel wants our bunker busters
Yeah, they do.
bombs to get to the nuclear sites in Iran, and I'm not sure I'm really on board with that.
No, I don't want to get involved with Iran at all. And you know, I keep hearing they're like 20 hours away from a nuclear bomb. Dude, I've been hearing that my entire adult life.
Oh, but the greatest thing is I heard one of the people that was on the Obama administration that signed the first Iran nuclear agreement. It's like, well, if Trump wouldn't have got rid of the agreement when he did, we wouldn't be where we're at today. They wouldn't be anywhere near a nuclear bomb.
By
What?
now they would already have a bomb under
Exactly.
Obama's policy. And again, this is the problem: is you have too many people that don't pay. They have like how many times have I said they have the memory of a goldfish? You know,
Oh yeah.
uh, this stuff all has been put out, and then these guys just come out and say the exact opposite. And the same reason why they're holding back that manifesto. The FBI was like, or the local authorities there in Minnesota were like, "Oh, there's no manifesto." It's like, no, it's just bullet points and theory and topics and opinions and
It's a
ideology.
manifesto.
Yeah, it's like what? It doesn't have a table of contents, so it's not a manifesto.
Right, exactly.
Oh, did you see the video though of Israel striking the Iranian state broadcast building with a
I
missile?
heard about it. It might have been on the news. No, I think it was on the Clay and Buck show. They were talking about it today because
The
they were
vi-
like saying even the propaganda people can't stay on the air.
yeah, and it was like a live broadcast. The
Yeah,
video's
yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Lights went out. The whole building shook. People started screaming. And what language do they speak over there? I honestly don't know.
In
Is it
Iran,
Yeah? Is it Arabic? Is it Farsi? Do they have their own
probably
language?
Farsi.
Mm,
I'll look it up real quick.
sure. But yeah, we got the Nimitz heading over there. We got some of these tankers to refuel aircraft mid-flight, which Israel's jets can get to Iran, deploy the payload, but not make it back. So it sounds like we'll refuel the aircraft to return on the trip. Jeez Louise. So that's what's happening in the world with all this shit. Now let's have a quick little talk about our own military. Uh, Yorktown, Naval Weapon Stations, Yorktown. I've been there before. Have you?
I have. I was there a
Okay.
few days ago to buy rum.
Oh, okay. Well, I was there on a ship when we were disarming the Vela Gulf to take all the missiles out after our deployment. That was slow, painful process. Let me tell you what. Apparently, they're talking about building a nuclear power plant on base.
Yes. We've talked about these power plants on previous episodes. This will be a small nuke that will be able to maintain power no matter what happens to the infrastructure.
Wow.
I think every military base needs one of these things.
Well, I'm curious, what can they do to keep this safe if it gets struck by missiles? Because if I was the bad guy who wanted to cripple the U.S. Navy before I actually got involved in a war, Yorktown Weapon Station would be on the list because you wouldn't be able to arm the vessels.
Well, they only deal with not aircraft carriers or anything like that. They can't get there, so.
No, but your cruisers, your destroyers, your frigates, you know, they got these big giant cranes that reach down and drop missiles down on the into the deck hatches, I guess. I don't know what you call them.
Farsi is they call it Persian Farsi is the predominant and official language of Iran, but there's numerous dialects.
All right. So it's
So
almost like
Farsi was right.
a Creole kind of thing
Yeah,
with like French and English mixed
yeah.
together.
Uh-huh.
Right. Now you shared this one. It says sailors who can't deploy can stay in the Navy with a new job.
Yes, they are trying to because recruiting's been down. They've had a hard time keeping recruiting going, and the Trump administration slash Hedgepeth, the Secretary of Defense, has come up with this new program where you won't automatically get kicked out of the Navy if you can't deploy. They will transfer you to a shore position temporarily to to stay on the job before, and it's not TPU.
I was gonna say because I was in TPU temporary. Oh, I can't remember what it's temporary something unit. I can't remember what it was. after my brain surgery
Well,
from the seizure.
this is definitely a program that's retained. It's trying to retain sailors with medical conditions that might well otherwise force them out of the Navy. So
Yeah,
they're
that
trying to
too.
keep them on the job long enough to return to duty rather than being separated on medical grounds.
That's what TPU was for me. The
Okay,
first,
well, but this system didn't exist before. This is called they're focusing on sailor employability, not deployability.
yeah, well, I mean, there's plenty of shore jobs too. Like when I first got to TPU, I had to wear my working blues, with a tie and do brig escort,
Yeah.
taking people to and from trial, which is hilarious because as soon as I showed up to the brig, the guy there when I was checking in, he's like, "Take your tie off," and I was like, "It's part of my
Right.
uniform." I'm like, "It's part of my
No.
uniform, sir." And he's like, "You want them to choke you to death with it? These you don't know what these guys are in for." I was like, "Oh, okay." And let me tell you how much you don't want that job, dude. You have to strip search these folks, right?
I've been there, done that with prisoners of war. I doc
Yeah.
I
And
documented it.
yeah, and squat and cough, and you have to sit there and watch their butthole pucker to make sure nothing drops out. And it's like, I don't
Yep.
like this job at all.
So this program started before May of 2024. The first sailor was approved for it in May 2024. To date, 850 sailors have been considered for the program, and 303 have been selected so far. On
Okay.
average, 20 sailors are nominated each week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's plenty to do. Like I said, TPU, that was the first thing they put me in. And then they put me in a carpentry shop, and then they put me in a weld shop while I waited. That's actually when I made E5 was
And
when I was
if
TPU.
this program would have been in place, you'd probably still be in the weld shop until you retired.
Yeah, well, then I wouldn't have gone to Israel because I went to the Villa Gulf after that, which was, let me tell you how much fun it was showing up to the ship and the senior chief, GSCS, check this out. He was the only GS in the entire Navy because GS split off to GS E and GSM, gas
Okay.
steam,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, mechanic or
Gas
electrician.
turbine.
Yeah, they didn't make him because he was already so high up or whatever, or he was grandfather or whatever. And GSCS was like, so you're a welder? I was like, I'm certified, yeah, but I haven't done a ton of welding. And he's like, well, what do you do? I was like, on the Carl Vincent, I was a plumber. He's like, well, I don't need another fucking plumber. I need a welder. He's like, I was like, all right, well. And geez, oh man, I did a lot of welding on that ship. Geez, that sucked. Uh, okay, this Coast Guard guy, what a dumbass, right?
Yep.
Well, what did he do?
He made death threats against Trump online. Coast Guard officer, ex Coast Guard officer.
Yeah, has he
And
been
his,
arrested?
and his yes, he has been arrested.
Yeah, but he was shit.
He's only like a lieutenant, but still, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
you and I have both been in the military with presidents we love and presidents we hate. But in the military, we don't say shit about the people we hate. We just do what we got to do.
just do your job exactly.
Yeah.
Uh,
And even
well,
though
this
this
guy
guy was not in the Coast Guard anymore, you know, it's
he
like
still knows better, and he knows it's against the law to threaten someone's life,
apparently he
especially the
was a
president.
suspect. He was a sharpshooter as well as a
Yeah,
FEMA instructor.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
if
know.
somebody's gonna say, "Hey, I'm gonna shoot the president," I'm gonna be looking at this guy more closely than me saying I'm gonna shoot the president because I'm not a marksman. I'm not a sharpshooter. You know, I'm not a FEMA instructor. I don't
Yeah,
even
he
own a
said,
gun right now. So
with what's going on in Virginia, I'm surprised you haven't bought one yet. At least a shotgun, dude.
not allowed.
Not allowed?
Yeah,
Would you have a felony, or is the wife not going to let you have a gun?
the life.
Ah,
I got
that's
shotguns back in Michigan I could bring down here. I got a 20 gauge.
well, that's not a huge round, but it's still enough to stop someone from stealing your pot plants. You know what I mean?
I know exactly.
But yeah, this guy, what's his name here? Peter Stinson said that Trump needed to be quote Luigi.
No, that's where he got in trouble when he said Luigi.
Yeah. So yeah. And again, everyone knows that you can't go making threats against the president's life. It's
No, doesn't
what
matter who
the
the
hell?
president is.
Yeah, what's the matter with these people, right? All right, you shared this next one, and I read this article like 3 times trying to find out what the fuck got found out, but it doesn't tell me. And I was so frustrated. But apparently, the director of the FBI, Patel, said
Yeah,
that they seized Fauci's phones and hard drives, and they've come up with a COVID breakthrough.
I don't even know what that means. I don't know.
The only thing I could find in there was talking about Wuhan in particular, but like, isn't it already, for the most part, accepted this came out of Wuhan?
No, it is that President Biden's not in office anymore.
Well, shit. Fauci was like,
I think what Patel and Trump are trying to do is, I mean, sure, Fauci's been granted immunity by Biden's auto pen, but we're going to test that theory on the auto pen.
yeah, I think you're exactly right. They're bringing up as much evidence as they can right now before they even try to uh challenge these pardons. Well, shit, you remember when when this pardon was signed? Fauci was actually pardoned into the future of when it
Is
was
that all
signed.
the Trump Biden pardoned tons of people in the future? His son,
Jeez.
Fauci, Adam Schiff, anybody that the Republicans might target, Biden tried to pardon them into the future.
Which is interesting because the only pardons that Biden actually signed by hand was his own family.
So Hunters was signed with auto pen.
Correct. Uh, but Fauci, I don't know if you remember, was talking to Congress and what's his name there? The son of the libertarian, Rand Paul,
Yeah,
was like, so you guys didn't do any gain of function? He goes, no, we simply put new functions and features in the viruses.
that's gain of function.
And it's like, yeah. And he's like, well, right here is your signature saying, go ahead and do this and we'll pay for it. And he's like, no,
Right.
that's not what it means. It's like, what?
That's exactly what it means.
Yeah, it's like you just perjured yourself in front of Congress and nobody gave a shit.
Right.
All right. I found out about this today.
Okay.
Cash Patel went up on X, Twitter, whatever the fuck we call it. I don't even care anymore.
X.
That China had a plan to mass produce driver's licenses, American driver's licenses for Chinese citizens, so that
Uh-huh.
Chinese citizens could apply and get their mail-in ballots and, excuse me, interfere with the 2020 election.
Huh.
What's crazier is Chris Wray, the FBI director at the time, knew about this
And didn't care.
and buried the
Of course.
story.
And that's why Chris Wray is no longer the FBI director and Cash Patel is.
Well, did he bury it because he just didn't give a shit to investigate, or was he in on it, trying to make sure that Biden got elected?
Uh,
I don't know, but I'd love to see where this investigation goes. It's,
yeah, I
kind
don't think it's going to go anywhere.
no, and that's the problem, is it's the deep state, and I know that sounds crazy to say, uh, but I got a feeling that's how Trump got most of these the deep state to leave him alone was this Iran thing. Is like, all right, we'll stop trying to prosecute you and make you look like the worst guy on the planet if you agree to go to war with Iran, which shit, it looks like we're about to, dude. Especially because I got a strange feeling that we're gonna see a terror attack in the United States within the next month, and it's gonna be blamed on an Iranian national, an illegal immigrant here, someone who came here to do this, and then a ton of the blame is gonna get put on Biden for leaving the border wide open and letting these folks in. And so we're gonna be able to blame Biden. That's gonna gain support for closing the borders, and it's going to get support for going to war with Iran. But that's just my opinion. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. It looks like we might be dangling bait everywhere for Iran, trying to get our toes in this fight.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing I can think of is that, again, the deep state agreed to back off of Trump with everything they were doing if he found a way to war with Iran. Don't know how true it is, but all right. All right. This article is one of the first ones you shared this week.
Yep.
The Roanoke thing, the colonists. It was what
Uh,
one of the first colonies in the United States, right? Back
right.
before. Now, what bothered me was the article said that Croatoa was carved into a tree, and that was all the evidence they could find. It was not. Only the letters CRO were carved into the tree. So it was what the common theories have been. Both the United States and the UK have been trying to figure out what happened for what 500 years, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
One common belief is that they got slaughtered by the natives that were here.
Yep.
Another one is that they went on to somewhere safer and further away from these folks for the same reason. But you found an article here that's suggesting that they interbred and
Yes.
became part of the native tribe.
Yes.
Now, did you actually read the article or just the headline?
I did read the article.
All right, so tell me why we believe this now then.
Now you gotta make me reread it.
Yeah, that's all right. They found they found metal that had been heat treated.
Exactly. And that's what I'm thinking about you as a welder. And as soon as I saw that, it's like they're saying that the technology that was available for this metal could have only been brought over by English settlements.
Well, not
The
necessarily only could have, but the natives had
the
no idea
natives
how
didn't
to
have
heat
that
treat.
technology yet.
Yeah, and I don't know how much you know about heat treating metal, but it's not as simple. They make it look like, especially on TV, they make it look like you just heat it up and then you know dunk it in water. But that's how things explode. You have to like heat it to a certain temperature, cycle the temperatures, and then usually put in some kind of oil quickly to quickly quench it, and it hardens your metals so they won't bend and warp, like on your arrowheads. Because the
Okay.
natives were using stones for arrowheads, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
Until the British showed up, like, hey, by the way, check this out, which again is why the big dig in Boston was such a freaking problem. Was every time they dug a hole, they found an arrowhead,
Right.
and it's like, oh, all right, so we have to stop and excavate again. I don't give a shit about the Confederate thing,
All right.
but no, go ahead and tell me about it anyway.
Well, Trump has announced he's going to restore all the Confederate names to military bases that Biden got rid of. I mean, I understand why he's doing it, but it seems like a waste of money to me.
Yeah, especially because how we talked about how much it costs to rename these things anyway, just in
Right.
signage alone.
Right.
And then
And now he's going to change them all back. And as soon as the Democrats back in the office of president, they're going to change them back again.
exactly, and not only are you dealing with signage, which is expensive, but how much is this going to cost either the sailors and the soldiers themselves to change their uniforms, or are we the taxpayers going to pay for this? Because I mean, what you on your dress uniform, didn't you have a rocker with the name of your command on it?
Yep.
And you probably had a couple ball caps too.
Yep.
This just sounds like a ton of money. It's a waste, and I understand why he's doing it because it's part of American history, and you can't just erase the ugly parts of American history because
And
that's how you do the
I
shit
agree
again.
with that totally. I totally, and we talked about this on the show before.
Yeah. Jeez Louise. The funny thing is I can't think of a single one that got changed. And I remember was Hood one of them, or was
Yes,
Fort
it
Hood was a
was.
shooting, wasn't it?
No, who got it changed? They're changing it back right now.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, Fort Hood was also where there was a shooting, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, no,
so
the shooter came from Hood.
oh, I thought he went on base with a weapon and started shooting.
He might have done that too. I don't remember. But yeah, there was definitely a shooter from American Hood.
All right, well, anything else you want to talk about? We kind of tore through this quicker than I thought.
Yeah, we did.
For real, I thought the riots in LA and what's happening with Iran was going to eat up a lot of our time, and it really didn't. Well, I mean, this was about an hour, but anything you want to talk about before we cut out and call it an episode?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Jesus Christ. Let's sign up. This is no, that's gonna be the wrong one. That's the in the morning one. Here we go. All right, well, that's our show. Looks like we missed Guapo because he's probably still
Eating dinner.
stuff his. Oh, yeah,
He's stuffing
still
his
eating
face.
which is fine. I'm gonna have me some pasta. But let's pinch this shirt off, dude.
All right, later.